Hey guys, how you doing? It's Henry at Mowers and Blowers. And you thought I was gonna go like that, didn't you? Mowers and Blowers! Anyway, it's kind of a chilly day today. Also, it looks like it might be rainy later. I'm gonna work on this today again. I ordered a new ignition switch because, as you know, it won't shut off. So while I was on the can this morning, I decided to look over some 7-prong ignition switch diagrams for the Murray. It's really tough to find, but you can find like 7-prong diagrams, electrical. It doesn't appear that there was any kind of tampering with it before I got it. But then yesterday when I was looking through the area here, right, of the wiring harness, there's like this black and purple wire that's been cut. So I have a feeling that has something to do with it. Also, the seat safety switch doesn't work. And it looks like somebody might have messed around with the wiring harness, which is the reason why when you shut it off. Now this is kind of important, okay? And this happened with my V-twin once, or an opposed twin at one time. But that was because of a bad diode on the circuit for the Magneto kill wire. There's a diode on there because it has to split into 2 kill wires to 2 magnetos on a twin. But since this is a single cylinder, that doesn't apply. There is no diode on the Magneto kill wire. So this is what happens. When this engine actually runs, I have to kind of figure out the carburetor too. I might swap the carburetor out because it has trouble starting. It's almost like the needle gets stuck and no fuel goes in there. If you spray something, it'll start, you know? So it's having trouble getting gas to get up there, even when you choke it, you know? This happens when you turn over 50. You start forgetting what you were just talking about. Oh, so the Magneto wire. So I just want to tell you exactly what happens, okay? Like I said, it happened once before on an opposed twin. So while the engine's running, when it's running, you turn it off from run, right? And it almost seems like, yes, the Magneto kind of stops the spark, right? But it continues to run anyway, almost like it's still kind of attached, you know what I mean? Like it's a loose connection. If you put this all the way down to low idle and you shut it off at the same time, it'll shut off, sort of. It may stumble a little bit like it's still trying to get spark, you know? So I think it's a ground issue, you know? So the ground from the ignition switch splits into 2 black wires. One goes to the Magneto, and the other one, I believe, goes to the bottom part of the solenoid. You know, what the solenoid is on there, there's a screw that attaches the solenoid onto the frame. That wire goes there. As you know, the Murrays have an access panel here, which is a very cool, convenient way for you to be able to access the solenoid. MTD's, the solenoids, is back here where the battery box is underneath. It's kind of a lousy design, you know. So you actually have pretty good access. I'm going to check the grounds over there, right? Short of that, I want to hardwire everything. I'm going to bypass all the safety switches and just do a hardwire ignition switch. S straight to the solenoid. M straight to the Magneto. L will hold that off because that's lights, right? B goes to battery. We're going to go to positive, constant 12 volts. And G for a good ground. That's all you really need to start this engine. M for Magneto, S for solenoid, B for battery, G for ground. That's it. If you wanted, you got L for lights, accessory 1, accessory 2. This one has a Y on it. When I looked at the diagram, Y goes to the lights. But it has an L on there too. So it has a Y for lights and an L for lights. So I think that's one of the reasons why my lights don't work. Because I think the purple wire is supposed to go to the lights, but it's been cut. So when I attach the straight wire from lights to the lights, it drains the battery. you know? So the circuit has a dedicated wire just for the lights that isn't on the other circuit where it coincides with the charging of the stator, you know? Oh, and the stator, that stator is a dual circuit stator. It's rated at 5 amps, right? Has a red wire that attaches to a diode. That should go directly to the battery terminal on the solenoid, or if you really wanted to, you can take it right to the battery if you wanted to. The black one is supposed to go to lights too. So I think the black wire should go to the part where it says Y, you know, and it's not. I believe the black wire is, right now it's nowhere because I disconnected the lights. So I'm going to try to figure all that stuff out. I'm going to check the ground on the solenoid and then maybe hardwire the entire ignition switch. And if it is the ignition switch, I got a new one coming. It was only 10 bucks. Here's a quick check of whether or not my repair of my wheels yesterday worked out by taking out old tubes, patching them, putting them back in, putting new tubes in certain really badly dry rotted tires. And let's see, so this is one that has, I think, a tube in it. So it's not completely flat, but it still has a slow leak. So I think some Fix-A-Flat or slime might fix the slow leaks. This is an old tube from one of these tires that I took out and repatched it because it had a leak coming out one of the patches. And I inflated this fully yesterday, and it's still pretty inflated. It's not fully, but it's pretty good. I think if I put this into a tire and then put slime or Fix-A-Flat in it, it would seal it too, because once you have it inflated, it pushes outwards. When it pushes outwards with the tire over it, it compacts these patches, you know, except for the inner ones. But the outer ones, it just pushes it. So, you know, if it's high enough PSI, it'll seal it. But look, this is held overnight. It's still puffy. This one's Dunsky. Took me all day to do that, so I'm not even going to mess with that anymore. It's so tight, you know, and it's like dry rotted onto the rim. You can't even break the bead on the bottom. You know, I think I just inflated this. That's it. Still some slow leaks, but pretty good. Overnight. This one too. So they all hold their air at least overnight. But there's slow leaks in here, so I may try to get some Fix-A-Flat or slime. It's only a $20 for a whole gallon. As you guys also know, yesterday I got this box, a gift from Amazon, and it was 4 oil filters, FL910S, and I couldn't figure out who sent it to me, you know. Who usually sends me stuff is Samuel Sandoval. And then once I did the video yesterday of me unboxing this during my mailbag section, right, in the comment section, he goes, "Oh, Henry, I sent it to you. I sent you something else for today, too." I'm like, man, I love when you send me these gifts, you know, that I use for my videos and stuff. And shout out to my buddy, subscriber Samuel Sandoval. Red Oaks Mowers. Follow him on Instagram. He's a good guy. All right. I'm gonna stop screwing around. Gotta get to it. Let's just satisfy my curiosity and see if this damn thing starts. Battery was fully charged. And as you see, I've been messing with the ignition switch. The key fits in the ignition switch, right? But it's so loose, right? That even if you put it upside down like that, it'll just fall out. I don't even know where it went now, you know? Couldn't find it, so I had to get one of my spares. These fit pretty much every one of these tractor ignitions. Anyway, Boba might have it in his stomach somewhere, I don't know. It's okay, they poo everything out like in a day. So let's see, I got it choked. Break. See this black wire here just hanging around? This is supposed to be ground, okay? This ground tab splits into two. One of them goes all the way to the bottom of the solenoid, and this one was loose, so it's ground. So I put it over here where it's a good ground, right? And every time I try to start it, it blows the fuse. So I don't get it. So maybe one of you guys can help me out here if you're good with electrical. I'm not good with electrical. I'm pretty good with hardwiring lawn tractors because I've done it so much, right? Like I said here, this outer tab here, that's not part of this module, splits into two black wires. This black wire goes straight to, from what I could see, goes straight to the bottom of the solenoid for the ground. This one here, actually, I don't know where this came from, you know, but I spliced it anyway because it's attached to the ground, right? I think I had this attached to the other part of the lights, you know? And so I just grounded it like this, and every time I tried to start it, a fuse would blow. 10 amp fuse. So I'm not doing that anymore. I've wasted like 3 fuses. But anyway, let's see if it starts. Nope, doesn't start. I don't know why it doesn't start. Why doesn't it start? Nothing. I'm like a blew a fuse. That's why it doesn't start. Put a new fuse in there. Now let's see if it starts. Okay, watch, I'm going to shut it off now. It sputters when I shut it off. Now I turn it back on again, and it doesn't sputter. So it's like it has a better spark going to it. When you turn it off, it sputters. Almost like it wants to ground, but it's not grounding well. Now I'm going to put it to low idle. When you put it to low idle, the throttle down, right? Then it doesn't have enough spark. It almost feels like when you have it turned off, right? There's still a slight spark that keeps the engine running, but not a strong spark. So the Magneto is working in a way, but maybe not working so well because the ground is not that good. So I think I'm going to check that ground wire to the solenoid. That seems to be maybe the culprit to it. And I think maybe this switch actually does work. It's just that the ground is not good, you know? That's probably it. Still don't know what this is, though. And there's a purple wire that goes nowhere. But like I said, I think the purple goes to the lights. It's 2 Phillips screws to take the panel off. Stripped! Got the panel off. See the access? Good access right to the solenoid and the fuse. I think something is rotten in Denmark. Alright, so check this out, guys. So here, it's a 3-post solenoid, right? And as you can see, there's only one terminal that sticks out for the trigger wire. So get this. The black wire is not supposed to be on the same circuit as the trigger wire, because when you turn the starter, the S is energized, and the 12 volts current goes to that starts the engine. But you can see the ground wire is on the same terminal. Well, that can't be right. You can't have the ground wire on there. The ground wire is supposed to be ground. So you know what I'm going to do? I think that's the problem. Somebody Somebody put this solenoid in there and has the black wire connected to the same terminal as the starter solenoid. That's not right. That'll cause a fuse to blow, or maybe the lights to not work and drain the battery. So, as you can see, I have put the black wire to the ground over here, holding the bracket for the solenoid to the frame of the tractor. The orange wire is the solenoid trigger wire. So that's the way it's supposed to be wired. Let's see if it shuts off now. Let's see if I wasted $10 buying a new ignition switch when all it was some nut job trying to do wiring that doesn't know what he's doing. Let's see if it starts. And it shuts off, no problem. That's what it was. Can you believe that? Jigging. And surprisingly, it starts up pretty well now, you know? High throttle. And it shuts off. How about that? That's great. Maybe I should try to hook up the lights again, because that, you know, that was probably causing problems because of the lights, you know. Maybe I'll do that. See if it still drains the battery. So as you see in this spaghetti here, I've reattached the wiring harness to the lights. Okay. Black goes to that loose black wire that was hanging out. It should be connected to ground, which is what I just attached to the bottom of the base of the solenoid, right? Then this goes from purple to this greasy brown one, which I connected onto another longer purple wire I found in my bottle of spaghetti, bin of spaghetti, and attached it to the green, purple. If purple, Y, is lights, then I've got something. As you can see, it should be switched power, you know. So the lights are back on here again. Let's see if the lights work just from me putting the key into the switch and turning it to the first notch for switched power. It does not, so I'm going to try to start it now. Okay, now of course the question is, does the lights being on now impede my charging? Let's see if the battery charges with the lights on at over 13 volts. Okay, we're gonna start it up again. I'm gonna let it run. Turn it back one for the lights. See if it charges at least 13 volts. And it does. 13.5, rising 13.6, 13.7, 13.8, awesome. So we've got lights now, we've got it charging. And it shuts off. That's great. You notice I don't have any trouble starting it anymore. You think maybe because the ground wire was on the trigger wire to start, that it prevented it from starting? Because if this loose black wire was touching any metal somewhere, right, it would have started. But because the ground wire was on the trigger wire to start, that it prevented it from starting? Because if this loose black wire was touching any metal somewhere, right, it would have started. That's why it wouldn't allow it to start. It's because it's grounding it out, the Magneto. So it wasn't getting any spark. Man, oh man, isn't that amazing? That's awesome. I just spent $10 on a new switch. Ow, whatever. Man, oh man, I gotta tell you, sitting on the can today, researching that diagram really turned the lights on, you know? And that's all it is just researching how you do things. I didn't have to hardwire the whole thing. I was just about to bypass every damn you know, safety switch that there was just to get this to work. Because I've done that a lot. I know how to wire everything, the four elements, the starter solenoid, battery, ground, and magneto. Those are the only four key things you need to have a proper wiring for the engine to start, you know? You got the accessory 1, accessory 2. Those are usually for the fuel solenoid, which I cut the valve and there's nothing attached to the fuel solenoid. I hate those things. So that's one switched power going to that. If somebody wanted to add lights, you know, those LED lights or something, that would be using accessory 2. And then you have the light, the L thing, which in this one is Y. So you guys can remember that. Y is lights for this, switched. Whereas you got you turn it to the first one, you got nothing. You turn it to the second one, that's what starts it. But when you put it back to the first one, it turns on the lights because it's powered. So that's great. We got the lights back on here, switched. We got the stator charging the battery at 13.7 volts. Perfect. It starts up no problem now. I think I'm finally done with this. I think this should go back on sale. What do you guys think? And I'm going to keep it at $475 because $325 for this thing really was too cheap. So all in all, I'm glad it didn't work out with that fella because $325 really is, I mean, now that you see everything's working great, you know, now it's really too cheap. So I'm going to clean up this spaghetti a little bit, put the access panel back on, and I think we're finished with this mamma jamma. Love Murray's now because, as you can see, they think about the owner, you know, the owner of the machine. Hey, let's put an access panel so the owner can access the solenoid if he needs to change it. Hey, let's put an access panel so that if the fuse blows, he can check the fuse and see if the fuse is blown and change it easily. Not like the other manufacturers, right? Which shall remain nameless. Oh, screw that. Not nameless. Craftsman, MTD. They just want things to be so difficult that you can't work on your shit on your own. Just like the new cars now. You have to take it to a dealer if anything's wrong with it because you can't work on it yourself. You open the hood and there's nothing but steel and plastic. You don't see anything. They make it so hard for you to reach anything that you can't even work on it yourself. You need special tools that are not available to the consumer. Murray still thinks about the consumer. Unfortunately, Murray is now owned by Briggs & Stratton right now. And honestly, I haven't seen any, you know, 2020 Murrays. Have you guys? Anyway, so that's done with the access panel. I'm going to have to put the ignition switch back into that hole. So I've got this spaghetti all taped up. So now I'm going to remove the wiring harness, take it off its wiring harness again without electrocuting myself. Here's the ground one that's off on itself, you know. The rest of the wires are inside a module. Just pivoting it back and forth to get it loose because it's really tight. I cleaned out all the contacts. Some of the older Craftsman ignition switches do not have the labeling of, you know, what it is. I'm going to try to get you closer here so you can see the back of this. Okay, I got it focused, as you can see. Y, A, S, B, M, G. So it's all labeled. G ground. Y we now know as switched lights. A is accessory, S is solenoid or starter, B is battery, and M is magneto. So that's how you guys know. I'm going to run this harness back up here again. Wait a minute, did I just do that wrong? You know what, I didn't need to take that off at all. I should have just kept it on. Duh. It's okay, I'm old. I only have like maybe 20 years if I'm lucky to live. Then I'm dead. And then all the youngins are going to have to watch my videos post-mortem. Isn't that depressing? Maybe the coronavirus will kill us all anyway. We'll all go together. Why is this so tight? That's what she said. This is hanging on something, man. Why is this so tight? Oh, come on. Why? Something's too short here, fellas. I think I did something. It's stuck. It was just caught on something. So there you go. You can see it. Fish it in there. Oh, crap. Forgot the nut. All right, I got this thing here. This is the nut. This is the cover. Ignition switch. Let me put this ground wire back on the tab. So the module's on here, tab's back on there. I didn't have to remove it because I forgot. So now I'm gonna fish it up in here. Look over here. Something seems to be caught all the time. Damn it. Something's just pulling here. I don't know why. There we go. While you're holding it, try to screw this on. There we go. Watch, it doesn't work because when I pushed it up there, one wire got pulled off. There's got to be an easier way to do electrical. Now let's just test it real quick. Key in the ignition, get my foot underneath, out near the mower deck so I don't chop it off in case. Sweet! What was getting hung up was that black wire wasn't long enough and it pulled the lights out of here. So I have to extend that black ground wire to the right headlight. Okay, I extended the black wire. Now everything's all tucked away here. Take the key off. Tighten this. This black grommet thing on. Key goes in there. So the wife is home. She just got back from Hawaii. As you guys know, my wife is a flight attendant. It's pretty rough out there with what's going on, you know, shutting down Europe and all. That's not good for the airlines for sure. But you know what? I'm going to support the family by selling lawnmowers. What an idea, huh? Yeah. Anyway, I got to go shopping with her now. Canned goods, Spam, Dinty Moore beef stew, Progresso soups, toilet paper, all this hand sanitizer you could buy, disinfectant wipes, already made meals. Oh, you know those preppers? They've got like 20 years worth of MREs. They're not crazy now, are they, huh? They're like sitting pretty going, ha ha, I'm all ready. You got a dungeon underground somewhere. Got another package from FedEx. My friend Samuel Sandoval. Red Oaks Mowers on Instagram. He's a very generous subscriber. Subscriber Sam. He sends me stuff all the time because he watches all my videos and he sees that whatever he thinks I need, right? If he sees a good deal, he's just going to buy it for me. He's one of about a dozen or so people that have sent me stuff and they have my address. And they just keep saying, oh, you know what? Some people buy my stickers, so now they have my address. And they just keep sending me gifts because they're helping the support channel, which I really appreciate because all these things that people send me, it helps me move forward with fixing things, you know? Because they know, oh, Henry's too cheap to buy this. I have no idea what this is. It came from Home Depot. Home Depot. Holy cow. Look at that, huh? But Sam, didn't you already send me this last time? He's probably thinking to himself, Henry, are you crazy or something? These are torques. These are hex, metric hex. So this is like Allen key, and that's torques. So yes, thank you. I do need these very much. I bet you got that from that video when I was with my friend Mondo Mowers, disassembling that makeshift garage, right? Where I mentioned that I didn't have any Allen keys with me to get that off. Thank you very much, man. You always need a good set of Allen keys, especially with the handle on it, you know, the T-handles. That's great. That's really great. I'm very happy. Thank you very much there, Sam. I appreciate it, man. Looks like we're finished now. I'm going to go park it in the spot where the LT1000 was. Lights? Do the lights work? All right. Finally, after, I don't know, 3-4 episodes, we finally got this Murray 14.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton single cylinder overhead valve, 42-inch wide cut, running working just as it should. Had this been running perfectly, I would have sold it for $325. I'm glad I didn't, because I'm sticking to my $575, maybe talking down to $550 or $500. I'm cool with that, you know. So while that experience with that other fella was not a good experience, it allowed me to have time to figure out the problems with it, right? If he never showed up and tried it out and all these problems occurred, I would have sold this to somebody and probably had a big problem later on, you know what I mean? So I'm glad that that happened. Now we got everything straightened out, you know, both Murrays. So because of that guy, even though it was a pain in the butt, right, it allowed me to know what the problems were on both machines. And so now they're all figured out and they're good to go. I feel pretty good about it. Thanks very much for joining me today. We wired the ignition switch correctly. There was nothing wrong with the switch. It was just a bad ground. So we got the lights working now. It charges, starts, runs, mows, drives, and shuts off perfectly. We'll see you guys next time on Mowers and Blowers.
Next time on Mowers and Blowers.
Hey guys, support my channel, buy a sticker. Also follow me on Instagram at MowersBlowers. Check out my website, mowersblowers.com. See you guys on the next project. Have a great day.
Hey Henry, see you guys next time on Mowers and Blowers.